377-1954.
Okay, we're recording.
1954. Perfect, thank you.
Okay, see you, Jen.
Lisa's going to do her little intro first.
Right.
All right. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the February 28th meeting of the regular council of our Village of Lytton. I'd like to take a moment to remind everyone to please turn off your video, mute your microphones, and allow council to begin proceedings. Just to let you know, we're all being recorded and broadcasted on the Village of Lytton YouTube channel. If anyone is looking for a video recording of this meeting or past meetings, you can go to the Village YouTube channel and watch it there. Thank you, Your Worship. You may call the meeting to order.
Thank you. I call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock. So this evening we have almost all of council here, as well as our CAO, Diane Mombercat, in the hall, and Councillor Toss is joining us via Zoom. We'll begin by recognizing that we're holding this meeting on the unceded traditional territory of the Ntlaka'pamux people. So we'll move right into the agenda. So tonight we do have an item to add to other business regarding the temporary fire hall. So we need the motion to adopt the agenda as amended. I'll make the motion. Thank you, Councillor Michelle, and seconder, Councillor Lightfoot. All those in favor? And carried. So adoption of the minutes of the February 14th meeting.
I'll move that the minutes from the regular meeting on February 14th be adopted as presented and amended.
Thank you. A seconder?
Toss. I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Toth. And are there any errors or omissions? No. All those in favor? Carried. So moving right on to item number 6, which is public comment, and I'll turn it back over to Lisa.
Thank you very much, Mayor O'Connor. So members of the public are now invited to comment on matters related to the agenda. If you would like to speak, please use the raise hand function on Zoom. You can find that by clicking on reactions at the bottom of your screen and click raise hand. When it's your turn, I'll read your name and we'll ask you to unmute yourself. You'll get a pop-up that will on your screen asking you to unmute. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. We ask that speakers please state their name and spell their name, state your address and the agenda item that you are speaking to. So if anyone would like to speak, please raise your hand now. All right, I don't see any hands raised. So I'll call for a second time. If anyone has any comments or wishes to speak, please use the raise hand function now. Okay, still nothing. So I'll call for the last time. So if you would like to speak, please use the raise hand function now. Nobody is on Zoom. Is there anyone there, Mayor O'Connor?
No, nobody here.
Okay. Okay, so I turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move right on to item number 7, staff reports. And Diane, I'm going to turn it over to you for item number 7.1.1.
Thank you very much, Mayor O'Connor. Good evening, everybody. This report is to recommend to council for the appointment of the auditors for the 2023 financial statements, so the year that just ended on December 31st. We are recommending that we sort of reappoint BDO Canada, who have done our audit for the years of 2020, 21, 22. This would be the 4th year in a row. There is some benefit to having a consistent auditor, particularly with the challenges that the village has had with the records that were lost in the fire and some of the reconstruction of the accounting records that has occurred. But also just in terms of the different grant funding that we've received and the reporting requirements around that. So we've kind of educated BDO now and they're up to speed, and it kind of would make sense to continue on with that. So their fee quote for the year for 2023 is $38,760. That seems appropriate. That's in line with what those services cost. Our draft budget for 2024 has $40,000 set aside for the audit. So it's within the budgeted number.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a recommended motion regarding the appointment of this auditor.
Move the recommended motion.
Thank you. A seconder?
Second.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, so we'll move on to the next item, which is regarding the UBCM. Regarding the UBCM EOC equipment and training. So back over to Diane.
Thank you very much. We've submitted an application to UBCM's Emergency Preparedness Fund for a grant to continue to stock our Emergency Operations Center, the mobile trailer that we bought last year. So you may remember in 2020, actually, we submitted the grant application for the mobile EOC. Took a little while for that to all kind of get done and worked out. But now we have the mobile EOC. We purchased some of the equipment, and this grant application is to continue that equipment and then the training on how to use the EOC effectively. So we submitted the application with the note that, should council approve, that resolution will be forthcoming. Just another note, we've also spoken with the Emergency Management Office at LFN. They've submitted also a grant application for this, under this program, and we intend to work together on the execution of the training and try to get some synergies there. It's the same company and they travel up from away, so it just makes sense to work together on it.
Great, thank you. So we do have a recommended motion here regarding this application.
I will move the recommended motion.
Thank you, Councillor McCann. A seconder? Councillor Lightfoot. Questions and comments for Diane? Are there any? No?
Just one.
Okay.
I didn't read it closely enough. But what's the time frame on all of this? What do you?
It can be as soon as we get it scheduled. Well, sorry, once we submit the grant application, we should know within 90 days. They let you know if you've been approved, assuming we're approved. Then we'll start right away to try to schedule the training. We had worked in the fall with this company to look at the training, and then became aware that this grant was going to be available early this year. So we decided to not use our own funds, to wait, apply for this grant, and then move forward. So we've kind of been, kind of ready to go for a while now.
So the training would happen and whatever purchases need to be made would be made.
Yeah.
And so are you seeing that by this fire season that would be ready to go, or would it be more like the fall?
It'll probably extend a bit into the fire season, because I'm thinking, this is the end of February. We'll find out by the end of April. We'll schedule the training probably like May, June, July.
Okay.
Well, that will likely be the time frame.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Councillor Lightfoot, sorry.
I'm just curious, have you identified who's going to be trained? How many are going to be trained?
We haven't established all that yet.
Okay.
Yeah. And we'll work with LFN on kind of the right numbers and, from where, to make sure that there's a little bit of disbursement in the expertise. So it's not all together in one place.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Any
But
other?
Citizens at large, staff?
I would think
mix?
you'd be probably a mix.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think, sort of looking into volunteer firefighters, staff, other people that have been involved in the function in the past and express an interest in staying involved. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. All right, so now on to 7.1.3, which is regarding the donations. So I'll turn it back over to you, Diane.
Thank you very much. We were working on kind of compiling all the records from the donations that have come in since the fire, and thought that this would be a good time to kind of come out and report to council on what's been received up to December 31st, 2023. So just a couple months ago. We haven't got it updated for 2024 yet, but it was It was a little bit more challenging than I would have thought because, some of the funds went into one account and then they got transferred to another account and we had to track them all down and try to find all of the correspondence that came in with them, indicating what donors preferred their money to go towards. So there were many of what we would call designated donations came in. And we've summarized those. They're summarized in the report. And so in total, we have received $760,000 worth of donations. Of those, we received $500 designated for the Red Cross. We received $196,724 designated for the swimming pool. We've received $59,628 that was designated for the fire department. $32,527 for unmet needs, $16,573 for disaster aid. We received a $20,000 donation that was to remain in trust for healthcare, remains in trust for 8 years, and at that time it would flip back over to general if it's not spent. We have a $50,000 donation from ATCO, and that was put into a reserve. You may remember that happened last year. And then there was about $384,754 that was undesignated. So that just came in with no particular purpose attached to it. A number of the donations were received online through our Donate Now button that we had on the website for quite a while. And those were all processed through an online credit card company. And so all we kind of, for most of those, we just sort of got the person's email address and the amount. And so we put all of those ones into general. So the 760,000 is what was received in total. Since the funds were received, there's been 2 expenditures that have been made out of the general funds. So the first one was a resolution was passed by council back, I think, in 2022 to apply some of the donations against water and sewer bills for residents. So $77,570 was put towards charges that had been levied against residents for water and sewer. And then around about a year ago, there was another council resolution passed to use the donation funds to purchase the Totem Motel property, which you may remember was purchased in support of a rapid housing initiative application, which wasn't successful, but we do have the property. So that was another $278,895 towards the purchase of that property. So what that means is that for general donations, $384,000 was contributed initially. We now have $28,289 left. Okay, so the total amount of donations sitting in the account today is $404,242. So in order to move forward with using these funds, we're looking for direction on a couple of fronts. One is related to the donations that were designated for unmet needs, and the other is the donations that were designated for disaster aid. So I'll leave it at that unless somebody has any questions.
Yeah, thank you. So we do have a motion to put forward, and it's a recommended motion that's 3 parts. So looking at not only just receiving your report, but also looking at some of the discussions possibly around unmet needs, and of course, what to do with the leftover money there, the recommendations. So this recommendation that's written here, who would like to move it? Yes.
Would you like me to?
No, yeah.
I think
Oh, okay.
this one.
Okay, sure.
I move that council receive the report, donation received as of December 31st, 2023 for information, and that council direct staff to initiate discussions with the Unmet Needs Committee to solicit feedback on the best use of the donation designated for unmet needs, and that council direct staff to bring a report to council with recommendations for the use of the general and disaster aid designated donations.
Okay, thank you. And a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Now, questions and comments? Do we have any?
Is there any kind of time frame? This doesn't say when. But I'm guessing that you wouldn't want this to drag on forever and ever,
No, we're hoping to get it dealt with.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as long as we're timely on it, I would really support this. Yeah.
Okay, are there any other comments? I'd just like to comment and thank Diane for putting this report together. I understand just from talking to staff, over the last while that it hasn't been a simple job at all. Although I know before being elected, thinking, why don't they just get that report out on what the donations are? But now after understanding more about what it is you had to actually do to get this report together. So just to thank you for that. Is there any other? We've had a seconder. We just need to, if there's no more comments or questions, all those in favor? Aye. Carried. Perfect. Thank you. And the last item for staff reports is regarding property taxes.
Oh, the
Yes.
property tax.
This will be back
Presentation.
over to you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, verbal report. So
Yeah.
presentation.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is going to pull up a presentation for me, I think.
There we go. Good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't see my slide.
There.
Thank you. So this presentation is really for information purposes. It's not talking the specific details of this year's tax rates because we're still working on that. But I thought I would take the opportunity as we're starting, we're really kind of getting going on the whole budgeting process, which then leads to the property taxes, just to review kind of how we calculate the taxes and what they were last year and what they're likely to look at this year. So next slide, Lisa, please. So just as a reminder to everybody, the tax rates have a couple of different components. So you'd have the property tax rate or the mill rate, which is set by council. That's a decision of council, combined with the assessed value, which is determined by BC assessment. So at this time, we have preliminary assessed values. BC assessment does some continued work on the assessment roll, primarily dealing with appeals and other things. And then they'll come up with a final tax roll around the end of March is generally when that happens. So at our regular council meeting on February the 14th, council did pass a resolution for staff to prepare a budget that included a 6% increase in the total revenue for property taxes. So that increase would be $19,436, bringing our total taxes collected to $343,364. Next slide, please. So in addition to the taxes that the village levies on property owners, we also collect taxes on behalf of a number of different organizations. So, we collect for the TNRD, for the Thompson Regional Hospital District, for the school district, police, BC Assessment, and the Municipal Finance Authority. So in some cases, I think this is on the next slide, maybe. You go to the next one, please. In some cases, the organization actually provides us with a rate to use, and in other cases, they provide us with a dollar amount to collect. And so if it's the rate, we just charge the rate. If it's the dollar amount, we have to then allocate it across the different property classes based on assessed value. There's also a couple of finer points to that around ratios that need to remain intact, but it's very specific and usually only results in an adjustment of a cent or two in the rate. So this is just an example of where we are sort of right now. This is comparing 2024 to 2023. So these are primarily our four property tax classes that we have. So class 1 is residential, class 2 is utilities, class 4 is major industry, and class 6 is commercial. So the first column is the assessed value for 2024. That compares with the column, 4 over with the assessed value of 2023. So you can see, and we talked about this in the report last week when we were last meeting, when we were looking at the increase, pretty significant increase in the preliminary assessment values anyway, at this time. You then look at, kind of the municipal rate. And at this time, our draft rate for residential would be 3.7062. That compares to a final rate of 5.2315 last year. And that's because the assessed values are so much higher, right? So we kind of adjust the rate to make sure. The other point that I would just want to make on this comparison is it's interesting when you look at, for all the class 1 residential properties, we'll collect $55,905. And so like we provide a lot of services for that money, right? There's water and sewer and there's, roads and all those kinds of things. And so Lytton's not unlike every other community in probably BC and in Canada, where our residential property owners, probably don't pay exactly what all the services cost, and it's made up by some of the taxpayers and some of the other classes. And that's just the way that it works. And so in a community that has a very large commercial or industrial sector, the residential owners usually benefit pretty significantly in those communities. So the calculated tax levy, that's where we sit today with the preliminary values and the draft budget, both of which will continue to change. But that's where we get the kind of the total taxes from.
Okay.
On to the next one, Lise. And then this was just where just to demonstrate how the total rate ends up at the end of the year. So this is last year because we don't have any of the numbers yet for this year. But we had, for example, in the class 1 residential, we had a municipal tax rate of 5.2315, and we collected an additional 1.1893. So the total that the property owner will pay is 6.4208. Kind of the most significant part of this is just to keep in mind that owners do pay more than just what we levy. And, I would expect that the taxes we'll collect on behalf of others will be fairly consistent with previous years, but it's always just good to remind ourselves that they have that burden as well that gets added onto ours. So I think that's it. Yeah, and this was just really provided for information.
Thank you. So we do have a recommended motion to accept this verbal report. Councillor McCann,
Sure.
thank you. A seconder, Councillor Lightfoot. And are there any comments or questions for Diane regarding this? Jennifer, no, don't see any. Okay. Oh, Councillor Lightfoot, sorry.
I was gonna say, it's a good overview because I think a lot of times people get concerned that the mill rate or whatever it is going up.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter if the total assessment is less or,
Yeah.
there's two factors that.
Yeah. And we equalize it,
Yeah.
right? We make it work.
And also for people to understand that they're paying taxes to those other agencies that we have no control over. Maybe they want to be lobbying those other agencies to be more frugal.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
so if there's no other questions, all those in favor? And carried. All right, so we are on to item number 8, which is verbal reports. I will begin. So as you can see, today is Pink Shirt Day. The theme is Lift Each Other Up for this year. And I think that's just something that, particularly here in Lytton, well, everywhere, that I think we need to just remember. And hopefully that is something we all practice and do, because when we do things that don't lift each other up, that bring us down, it's not helpful. So anyways, Pink Shirt Day today. Our last meeting fell on Valentine's Day. Yeah, amazing, right? Now we're on Pink Shirt Day. 2 days following that meeting, I attended the TNRD regular meeting and committee of the whole meetings via Zoom. And because I was busy here in Lytton with other meetings, so that was quite the couple of days. On Thursday of last week, I had questions from locals asking what was happening in town in the morning. They saw myself and a bunch of others gathered on Fraser Street. So I had lots of people saying, what was going on in town? So, but as you know, we awarded the contract for the concept planning of the public municipal spaces. And so I was able to meet along with others with Stantec to look at the property and provide some context for them for the property. So I attended the job fair at the Battlefield Hall. Again, LFN outdid themselves with this event. It was an excellent event, and it was so great to have Kathy there from the village of Lytton setting up a table and being present. That same afternoon, I participated in a Zoom meeting with the Premier's Task Force for Emergencies. They're going to be wrapping up their consultation in about a week and providing recommendations to the government on emergency planning, response and services and such. Today was early voting day and I missed it, so I'm going to have to be going, I think it's March 4th is the voting day for our School District 74 Board of Education representative in this by-election. I hope to see tomorrow, I hope to see lots of people out either on Zoom or here at the hall for the community budget presentation at 6:30 p.m. till about 8:30 or whenever we finish. So please join us. And finally, just a quick announcement. I heard today that the do not consume water order in the village has been lifted. So that means the people living in their homes in the towns can drink out of the tap, and here at the parish hall, we don't need bottled water anymore. We can be drinking right out of the tap as well. So that's really positive news to have. So yeah, thank you. All right, so we'll move right on to Councillor Foss. There she is.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. I don't have a lot to report since our last meeting, which I attended in person on February 14th, which was great. And then the community meeting on the 15th. Not a lot else to report. Liking the progress I'm seeing in the village and some homes showing up. And looking forward to the chamber meeting this Friday to be the council designated liaison there. So thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, Councillor McCann.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. I've attended a number of meetings. The Coffee with the Mayor continues on at the Parish Hall every Monday, even if it's a holiday. And people come here early even to get to that. Heaven only knows. We're a faithful bunch, my goodness. It's always good and interesting discussions usually conspire along with some welcoming friendships and stuff. The County Heritage Committee meets every Tuesday. I've been attending those meetings. And on the 21st, Councillor Lightfoot and I attended the Tecumseh Fire Smart Committee meeting at LFN. I went as well as the mayor to the Rebuild Job Fair and the Battlefield. And yes, it was an outstanding event. We had the highlights. Yes, I have highlights here. Upcoming meeting for the Fire Smart event is planned for April the 4th. There will be a meal. It will be probably at the Battlefield Hall, right? Mm-hmm. And prizes. So put that on your calendar. It'll be a fun thing to, usually those are really informative sessions. Also, I want to let people know that the annual cemetery cleanup is on April the 7th. And that we're hoping to have some time spent with the Dodge family, doing a little bit of a help with the cleanup there and recognizing their parents that day. And it's, for me, the most exciting thing that happened this week is that 3 residents got final approvals to begin their rebuild. And I'm starting to feel pretty hopeful and optimistic about things moving ahead. That's my report.
Thank you. Great. Councillor Michelle. Nothing to report. You've been busy with other things.
Yes.
Councillor Lightfoot.
On the 15th, just before our community meeting, I met with the museum group out at Cumsheen, and they're organizing themselves. They're getting the financials straightened away. They've retrieved some of the artifacts that were up the valley and brought it down to the village, I believe. I think they planned to meet with Diane when she was here. I'm not sure if they were able to.
We haven't yet.
No. Dedicated group, still selling memberships on a regular basis if anyone's interested. I also went to the community information meeting that night, and then coffee and fire spark with Councillor McCann, and the walkabout with Stantec that stirred curiosity from our residents.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Thank you very much.
Mayor O'Connor?
Yes.
Could I just say, with respect to the do not consume order being lifted,
Yeah.
I think we'd have to extend our extreme appreciation to our manager of municipal operations, Brian Baxter, and our water operator, Kevin Vilak. And their supports, which were, Tanya Peterkin and Tom McPhail and Morgan Heister now, they've all worked extremely hard to get that order removed. And there's been a lot of work done, a lot of repairs and fixes made. And it's a big success to have that done.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Absolutely. Great. Okay, we'll move on to item number 9, which is other business. And we are adding an item regarding the temporary fire hall and overhead doors. So I'm going to ask Diane to speak to this.
Thank you. And normally Brian Baxter would be here, but he's not feeling so great today. So I told him I would do the report for him. So this is a follow-up to the resolution that council made on January the 31st, requesting that staff kind of look at planning the conversion of that space down at the old mill site to function as a temporary fire hall while we're planning and rebuilding the new fire hall. So this is the first kind of major expenditure that's come up. We need to order some overhead doors. It was on the budgeted list that we provided at the time. The budget was $20,000. We've got a quote for 2 doors with the electric openers for $17,782. So we're just looking for authorization to make that purchase.
Great, thank you. So we have a recommended motion here regarding that. Who would like to? Councillor Lightfoot.
I move that council authorize the purchase of an overhead door system for the temporary fire hall from Door Systems for $17,782 plus GST.
Have a seconder? I'll second. Councillor Michelle. And any comments or questions? This is good news to see things happening. So,
Yeah.
all those in favor?
Aye.
And carried. Perfect. All right, so that brings us to the end of the open meeting. We had a shorter agenda this evening, but we will be moving into closed meeting. And so we require a motion, the recommended motion here regarding the closed meeting.
Also move.
Thank you, Councillor McCann. Seconder?
Seconded toss.
Thank you. And all those in favor? And carried. Thank you. And so thank you, everyone, for attending. And I'm going to turn it back over to CEO Storoshenko.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. So thank you for, this concludes the public portion of our regular council meeting of February 28th. We ask that the public and staff please remove yourself from the meeting as we go into the closed session. Thank you for attending today's meeting and have a wonderful evening. And I also invite council to take a short recess while I reset the